Hey, did you catch the latest earnings report from Natco Pharma?
Oh, yeah, I saw it. It seems like they had a bit of a mixed bag in Q3 FY25. Total revenue was down compared to last year, right?
Exactly. Consolidated total revenue came in at 651.1 crore rupees, which is less than the 795.6 crore rupees they made in the same period last year. And net profit also took a hit, dropping to 132.4 crore rupees from 212.7 crore rupees.
That's quite a drop. What's behind the decrease in revenue and profit?
Well, the report mentions a lower contribution from their export formulation business during the quarter. However, they're expecting a comeback in the coming quarters. Let's hope that actually happens.
Yeah, that's the key. So, what are some of the other highlights from the report?
Well, despite a dip in overall numbers, the board of directors declared a third interim dividend of INR 1.5 per equity share.
Dividends, always good news for shareholders. When is the record date and payment date for this dividend?
The record date is set for February 18th, 2025, and the payment will start from February 28th, 2025. So shareholders need to hold the stock before the 18th to get paid.
Okay, good to know. So, how did the different segments perform?
Okay, here's the breakdown. Active pharmaceutical ingredients or API brought in 66.6 crore rupees. Domestic formulations made 96.1 crore rupees, and export formulations, including profit share from subsidiaries, landed at 285.8 crore rupees. Crop Health Sciences or CHS was at 15.1 crore rupees.
And what about that other category?
That other category, which includes operating and non-operating income, stood at 187.5 crore rupees. It's worth noting that the export formulations took a big hit compared to the previous quarter, where they made 1,211.3 crore rupees.
Wow, that's a significant drop in export formulations. Makes sense why the overall revenue is down.
Yeah, exactly. And speaking of company overview, Natco Pharma, headquartered in Hyderabad, is involved in developing, manufacturing, and distributing generic and branded pharmaceuticals, APIs, and crop protection products. They're pretty R&D focused, especially in oncology.
Right, I remember that. They're pretty big in the targeted therapies market in India, and they focus on limited competition molecules in the US, right?
Spot on. Plus, their manufacturing facilities have approvals from major regulatory bodies like the US FDA and WHO, which allows them to cater to over 50 global markets.
That's quite impressive. So, what about their key product pipeline in the US? Any exciting developments there?
Well, they have 28 para IV filings in the pipeline, with 13 already approved, either tentatively or fully. Key products include generics for Tracleer, Kyprolis, Imbruvica, and Ozempic.
Ozempic, huh? That's a hot one right now. Isn't it used for diabetes?
Yeah, and Natco's partner, Mylan Pharmaceuticals, reached a settlement with Novo Nordisk regarding the US patent litigation for generic Ozempic.
Oh, interesting. That could be a game changer. Are there any new filings in the works?
They've submitted an ANDA with a paragraph 4 certification for a generic version of EVRYSDI, which is used for spinal muscular atrophy. Plus, they have shared first to file status, so they could have a good position when it launches.
Nice. Always good to see them innovating. So, what did the profit and loss statement reveal?
Well, EBITDA stood at 2,151 million shares with an EBITDA margin of 33% for Q3 FY25. Profit after tax was 1,324 million rupees, and the reported earnings per share, both basic and diluted, was INR 7.43.
33% EBITDA margin, not bad, but lower than the previous quarter's 60.5%. It might be useful to remind our listeners that we advise investors to check with certified experts before taking any investment decisions.
Good point. Always important to be cautious. So, wrapping up the financial performance, revenue from operations came in at 4,748 million rupees, supplemented by other income of 1,763 million rupees.
Okay, so let's talk about their upcoming earnings call. When is that happening?
The earnings call is scheduled for February 13th, 2025 at 10 a.m. IST. Rajiv Nanapaneni and Rajesh Chebiam will be discussing the company's performance.
Perfect. Now let's dive a bit deeper into the balance sheet. Did you notice any significant changes in their assets, liabilities, or equity?
Well, digging into the consolidated financial results, total assets stood at 81,153 million rupees, while total liabilities were at 8,639 million rupees.
All right. And in terms of segment assets, pharmaceuticals accounted for 44,021 million rupees and agrochemicals had 3,571 million rupees.
Exactly. Now let's get back to that dividend. So, just to reiterate, it's 1.5 rupees per share. The record date is February 18th and payment starts on February 28th.
Got it. So how does this compare to previous dividends?
Well, they also approved an interim dividend of 3 rupees per share for the quarter ended June 30th, 2024, and another 1.5 rupees per share for the quarter ended September 30th, 2024. So it's consistent with the last quarter.
Okay, that paints a clearer picture. Consistent dividend payouts despite a tougher quarter.
Yeah, it shows they're still committed to returning value to shareholders, even with the export formulation business taking a hit.
So, based on everything, what's your overall take on Natco Pharma's Q3 FY25 performance?
Well, it's a mixed bag. The drop in revenue and profit is definitely a concern, mainly driven by the export formulation segment. However, their commitment to dividends and the potential of their product pipeline are positives.
Right. And it seems like they're positioning themselves well for future growth with those key FTF products.
Definitely. Also, remember Dr. Pawan Ganapati Bhatt resigned as Director and Executive Vice President due to a new opportunity. So there's a bit of a leadership change happening.
Okay, important to note. So, given everything we've discussed, what would be your recommendation for investors?
Well, with their earnings call coming up on February 13th, it might be wise to listen in and hear what management has to say about the future outlook.
Sounds like a plan. Any last thoughts?
Just a reminder to everyone listening, the dividend record date is February 18th and the payment starts on February 28th. So mark your calendars if you're a shareholder. I guess if our listeners are finding this useful, they can go ahead and like, share, and subscribe to the channel now so they don't miss any future analysis.
Good point. Thanks for breaking down the Natco Pharma earnings report. It seems like a good mix of challenges and opportunities.